We're gonna go right here. So we are on a weekend hike. We are about to go do some blueberry picking, or Eve is gonna do the blueberry picking.
Max might too.
I might do some blueberry picking. I might do some sketching, but pretty gorgeous spot. What do you think?
I love it. It's beautiful. It's fall. It's the best season.
What do you think, Kip?
He also agrees. It's the best season for seaweed.
So Eve is like 1/3 black bear, so she found a patch of blueberries and she'll be there until they're gone. But this guy is passed out, and I just arrived at the top of this gorgeous, just absolutely gorgeous section of the trail. I just love how you have basically every color you can imagine, at least in Alaska. Just the reds, oranges, the purples, the greens. There's even a patch of snow out there still. And so I think I'm gonna set something up and figure out exactly what to sketch, because you could paint any of these directions and it'd be beautiful, but I think kind of this little mountain with the flows and the clouds, I think that's kind of where I'm gonna aim. Someone has woken up. Okay, no sign of Eve, which means that the berry patch she found must be a good one. And so she is gonna be there until it's gone. So I'm gonna come back down, move all the stuff, and I guess I'll be painting from down here because she's the one who has the bear spray. So for safety's sake, I think that is where I'm going. Fortunately, everything is gorgeous here. So you can basically paint from anywhere and it'll be a fun one. But it's good to have a bear spray because that is the other thing that loves blueberries almost as much as Eve. Are all of the brown bears out here, and they are fattening up before winter because it is coming. That snow is going to be on this mountain soon, and they feel it, so they're trying to get all of the food they can. And I don't want to stumble into one and paint them from up close. If I want to add a bear to my painting, I will do it from memory. All right, so I think this right here is going to be the setup. This feels really good. There's Eve, there's Kip doing some blueberry picking. And then you can kind of see, but like way over here, all of this cloud stuff is going to be rolling in because some rain is coming through. So I think that will make for an interesting painting. I don't know, we'll find out. That's what's fun about sketching in the wild. So start off with a little bit of an outline, just like this. I love to do, even if it's sort of janky, I love to do a quick outline because it just brings like everything into a frame, which I think is really nice. Hey, Kip. Yes, I know you want the tripod. Oh, hi. You fall over. Are you in bear poop? You might be. I think he's in some bear poop. Okay, and then we're going to just kind of create the outline really fast in pen or pencil. I only brought a white pencil, which was my mistake, but basically I'm making a coloring book that I'd want to see. So here's our little outline right here. Moving down, we got a couple little trees, and it can be janky. It doesn't need to be super duper fancy to work really well. We're gonna go up a little bit, although I'm gonna leave some of that space where those clouds are. We'll paint those in a second. Okay, so something kind of like this. And then we have like that right there. Sort of that area. More trees coming through. Of course, we have our blueberry pickers that I gotta add in. A little bit down here. The blueberries of the blueberry bush. Super janky. You don't need to be fancy in this case. You just kind of need to get the general shape. And then let's get Eve right here. I am so scared of drawing people, but let's make an exception. Well, maybe not being scared, but at least drawing people. And there she is, arms, doing some grabbing. Eve is part black bear, and that's where she gets all her skill from. Actually, fun fact, black bears like blueberries more than salmon. Like a lot of times well, just bears in general. So if there's berries ripe at the same time that the salmon are running, they'll pick the salmon last, blueberries first. There we go. So there's Eve picking berries, and then we'll put Kep just here in the distance, being a little blueberry himself. And a bucket. Okay, so that's about all of the like outline I need. You can be way fancier and like crosshatch, put sketches or whatever you want, but I don't think we need any of that. And now I'm just gonna go grab a little bit of a brush. Here we are. Got water in one hand, brush in the other. Now it is time to paint. Okay, so you're gonna start with the lights and then work your way down. And so that is kind of all of this nice blueberry kind of goodness. And actually there's a lot of yellow in there. You can't quite see it maybe, but that's sort of what I see. A little bit of yellow, a lot of red. Eve will be a darker shape, so we'll fill her in later. And then that yellow kind of fades to a bit of this red. And there is a lot of brown in there, but it's made out of a bunch of different colors. So you don't need to necessarily paint in the brown, it'll just make itself. Then we add a bit there, and then there's green up top. And because I'm painting up and down, I can kind of just add that green and let it all flow together. I think. You never know what the conditions are going to give you. Okay, a little bit of green right there, and blam. That should all kind of just flow together. And then we'll add in maybe a tiny bit of blueberry in there in the future, but we'll wait till stuff is dry right now. Little specks of blue. But that's what you're looking for. If you want good blueberries, you want to look for that red. Their leaves turn this beautiful red. There's a little bit of orange up there too, so you can just grab a bit of yellow, put a little dot right there, and then grab some more red, add it to it. But yeah, kind of like how maple leaves turn red. It seems like all the tasty plants turn a little bit red in the fall, especially blueberries. Okay, so got a little bit like that. That's looking great. And then we're gonna wait until that is dry a little bit to move into it. So next we're gonna come up here to the sky, and it is just moving a little bit. So it's gray, it's kind of light, it's got all these different shades and textures. So the way we do that, hey Kep. Yeah, hey, ha, huh, huh. Yes. Oh, I see. Yes, do you need this blueberry? Here, you know how to pick them. There you go. Delicious. Yeah, see? It's there. You have your own snacks. You don't need backpack snacks. It's a world full of snacks. Okay, so sky. We have a little bit up in the top, and the way I think that make the most sense is I'm just gonna add a touch of water, just a little bit, just kind of let the canvas get a tiny bit wet, the trail tile, very, very tiny canvas. And then I'm gonna add just a touch of indigo here. I already cut some on my palette already, to recycle that I suppose. And I am going to just put a little bit on the top. Just a little bit, kind of a line here. Looks like we got about a little line here. Less is more, so if you can just sort of caution yourself just a little bit, that should be fine. Maybe a tiny bit down here. Something like that. And then you come in with your water, and you can see it's already starting to kind of move around, but you just come in with your water. You don't want too many hard edges, so I'm just gonna soften up a few of those. And I'm just putting it on the page, letting it move around. There's a technique called wet on wet, which also works totally fine. You know, basically you soak the whole canvas and you're working with everything and it's all drippy and going all over the place, but that's more like winter sky or something like that. And we're thoroughly in fall sky, but there we go. Just enough. And if this is your first time doing watercolor, you kind of got to just trust it. Well, honestly, if this is like your 100th time doing watercolor, you also just got to trust it because it will eventually kind of flow into the right shape, but you just won't know it. which is why I love watercolor. It's like a combination of film photography and painting, because you don't totally know what you're going to get until you get it back. Okay, now I'm kind of seeing where stuff is moving, where it's not. All right, that's fine. That's probably fine. And I'm actually going to move things down a tiny bit because I don't want them to kind of hold on the edge. I actually want them to kind of move through, because, you know, this guy doesn't just stop where these mountains are. It does go all the way through. There we go. So we got some of that. We got some of this. That's all looking lovely. And while this is drying and this is drying, these middle layers, I'm going to add some of the edges of these trees, which you can kind of see. Trees aren't, you know, they have light, but it's the dark that gives them shape. That is literally how you see the tree from the forest, is the shadow of the rest of the trees. So here's a little bit of green. This is sap green. Something just like this. Ooh, a little bit too watery sap green. Maybe a bit of yellow or something. It's actually pretty bright. These are black spruce, I think. Eve, are these black spruce? The trees?
What?
Are these trees black spruce?
I'm not sure.
I think so. They're kind of like they're like the standard Alaskan tree. And so we got some here. Actually, there's a few here that I didn't pen in, so you can make them too. Basically, just put a blob of this kind of lighter green, and then you sort of carve it out later on with your brush. It's super simple. It's a fast, easy thing to do, but it works pretty well. Okay, so a little bit right there, a little bit right here. And you could let it go all the way down if you want, because the like edge right before the blueberries, but I'm going to hold off a little bit and make it a bit darker. But then when I come in with these trees, I'll make sure that this section is just a little darker, and it'll carve all of that. It'll look really cool. You'll see. Same up here. We got a few of those. We'll add just a little bit right there. Okay. Perfect. And then we kind of let this dry just a little bit.
You see them? Yeah, get one. Nice. Are you gonna put it in there? No, you just like to pretend.
All right, now most of this is semi-dry. It's these mountains that are gonna be tough, but they're cool. They're cool, but they're gonna be tough. So because we have a little bit of these clouds kind of peeking through, we don't actually wanna paint all of the mountain in, we just want a little bit. And so I'm gonna start with the base probably, which actually is sort of a nice yellowy blue green thing. And these trees are gonna be kind of darker. They're gonna be our contrast. Just adding a little bit of yellow down here or something. You kind of get this lovely progression that always goes up these mountains. So get a little bit of yellow here. And technically there's some up here, but we'll do that mountain next. And then I'm gonna add a little bit of brown maybe. Yeah, a little bit of brown. And they're gonna get kind of darker and darker as they go up. But I am gonna like leave these little bits of white, or I guess in this case kind of dark bluish, because I want there to be just a little bit of that cloud. But the clouds don't have hard edges, so that's why a lot of this is sort of half and half. Then our brown turns to kind of purple, and all of this will sort of flow down into these trees too, if you're painting straight up and down, which I don't know if I recommend. It's nice to do it because I can kind of see what I'm looking at, but there's nothing wrong with looking down and looking back up. Here comes the purple. That might be a bit too much purple. That's okay though. These are some really good looking mountains. They can handle whatever you put on them. And then we got a little bit more up here. And so here's the tough part of like, how do you mix these two? And so this is gonna be mostly cloud, but if I just get a touch of brown, I should do this. Worst case scenario, I overthink it and I just connect these and then it's just a normal mountain. But it's kind of fun to take risks like this, where there's zero consequences. Honestly, painting is zero consequences. It feels like it's a whole lot of pressure, but if you're having some fun, that's that's the real prize. Okay, now let's add some indigo right here, just a touch. And let's see how this works. A little bit of water now. Seeing if we get kind of some of these fog banks. Maybe. We'll give it a go. Okay. Maybe that looks like a cloud, maybe it doesn't. You know what? If it doesn't, you just grab a little bit of indigo and you just go like this. Blam. Bloop. And now we have a mountain. But it's great. It's like you know, painting a test swatch on a like a house or a wall or something, or a ceiling. There's no issue. You're gonna paint over it anyway. All right, so we got this one, and then same up here. What matters is that this isn't the darkest. We want this kind of slightly lighter. Grab some yellow, something like this, and just a little bit of maybe like brown or red or orange or something else, just to kind of mix in there. Maybe even a little bit of green. And then we'll put it all together. A little bit of touch of green. There we go. And then, oh, hi, sweet dog. On the trail, so we're getting all the good visitors. Let's see, move that water droplet down somewhere else. It doesn't make too much of a damage. All right, so we got that, and then right up at the top, we got some more of this kind of purple indigo mix. Just a touch of this, touch of this. Trying to move fast, but I'm really good at overthinking paintings. Honestly, if like there's rain or something coming, that is the real trick, because it kind of forces you to move quick, and that's usually how you get a good painting, is just something that you kind of just get into the zone with. Okay, right there, pulling it down to some more of that indigo, and I'll let a little bit of water do the rest of the work. There we go. So quick, easy, and we will come back in with these, but you can kind of see all of it's kind of moving and dripping around just a little bit. And now I'm just gonna see what we got going on here. Is it dry? It's dry enough, sort of, but let's give it a go. So we're gonna add some kind of darker shades and textures into this. This is gonna be 3 pieces. We'll have the light, the medium, and the dark. So here comes the medium. Get a little bit of blue mixed with our green, and something slightly darker. And now I'm gonna kind of add in some of those tree shapes. They don't need to be perfect. Trees are just a whole bunch of abstract branches. And you kind of just do something like this. But we're just sort of carving out those shapes just a little bit, giving it some depth. Something like that. Already, look at that. Look how much more of a tree that looks like. And we're just adding a little bit here, a little bit there. We are going to be adding some of these shapes up there, but we don't need to be as worried about any of it. Same with over here. We could add a little bit if we wanted. Although you'll see when it's wet and you add anything, you don't quite get that same definition. But maybe that's better. I don't know. A little bit here, a little bit there. Perfect. And then we'll come into something way darker here, and that will make it really stand out. Okay, so we got those. And then let's put some shadows under this tree here, because we'll come into something way darker, but just a tiny bit of blue. Kind of show some depth here. A little bit of shadow, a little bit of tree. And now is when I'll put a shadow under Eve and Kip as well. A little bit of shadow under him. Howdy. A little bit of shadow under Eve. And that should be enough to give some depth. Maybe a shadow under that bucket too.
I dumped the water out for more precious cargo.
Here's the precious cargo. This is like, I don't know, a bunch of berries. Just a bunch of berries, but also just a fraction of what Eve would like to pick. Like if she could have her way, we'd come out with just 5-gallon buckets and stay out here for weeks. That's not bad for oatmeal though. I feel like there's probably a moose within like hearing distance of us. They've got to be everywhere. I mean, like, it's wild that you just can't. If we had a drone or something, I bet it would disturb us, like how many moose are right next to us, but they're just invisible. Let's get back into this section, I think just a little bit. Add a little bit of green, a little bit of blue, and just kind of forest up this green. A little bit there, a little bit here. If you're clever and you're actually looking at the shapes, you can kind of blur your eyes and squint and block them out. At this point, I've kind of lost my way a little bit in the sketch, but that's okay. You can still kind of fudge your way around. And then now I'm going to start kind of moving into some of these slightly darker trees. And it's funny because, you know, there'll be light down here, and then right up there, all of a sudden they're way dark. I don't know how that works with our eyes and contrast and all that, but that's what it looks like. So I'm going to add maybe just a bit of yellow just to start, and then I'll come in with just some hardcore indigo, basically. So a little bit of yellow, just kind of at the base of some of these, just because it's not, you know, it's not pure silhouette. So a little bit of yellow, and then we're going to come in with some nice dark contrast. Okay, that's looking great. Okay, now let's jump into the indigo. Here's some indigo, which is about as dark as I get. There are, you know, black and lamp black and Payne's gray and all of those, but I love indigo because it's just, it's simple, but it's more complex than just pure darkness. Okay, a little bit here. There's kind of that main tree. There's this little side tree kind of going over there, and then you got this side little one right there. And there's those three, and then I'm just kind of bringing it down. Trees are just kind of these stacks of branches, so don't worry too much about it. Okay, a little bit there, a little bit here. Oh, no. And now I'm going to start using this to kind of carve out the shape of these other trees. And you see how it's kind of mixing with that yellow, so it's kind of making my own green for me. A little bit there, a little bit here. The concentration is real once you kind of hit this stage. But if you can go quick, that's kind of what usually makes it feel the most realistic. I don't know how it works, but it's one of those things. The more you think about it, the worse it will be. Which is just the worst thing you can do to tell somebody. It's like telling somebody to calm down. It's going to have the exact opposite effect. Yeah, okay, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. A little bit more of that blue, of the indigo, and let's keep on moving this up. Got kind of this higher tree right there. And once you kind of have that skyline of the trees sort of set up, then you can kind of start moving down. This right here is a little wet, but that's fine because kind of the further away they are, the more kind of blurry they are. Okay, we got a little bit over here, a little bit over there. Oh, we got a little blueberry boy. A runaway guy. And then we're going to go add a little bit more right here, just to bring that tree kind of to life. We'll be adding some of these dark sections below that tree as well, but this is sort of that initial highlight round. How cool is that? I just love how like quickly these things come together. It always seems like it's the last few strokes, and this is a great example. A little bit more down here now. So this is sort of that understory as a woodland creature. We're now painting in that like living room of where they'd want to live, right under these trees. And there we go. Pretty cool. Right down here, let's go get some of this one now. Really loose, really just a hint, but it's enough. And then same over here. I'm going to work almost entirely within that second layer that I put. So just a little taste right in kind of that darker forest green. And that should be plenty. There we go. Now, you should be looking at the subject more than you're looking at the painting. I'm not doing a very good job of that right now. Right now I'm looking almost exclusively at the painting and occasionally out for moose and bears. But the real trick of watercolor is really just to spend time looking. And it's something that you practice all the time. In fact, you can practice without even paint. You can just spend time looking and just seeing what you see in shades and things. But I think that's probably what I'm the worst at. Fortunately, as a watercolor artist, I feel like they usually peak in their 80s. So being 30, I've got a little bit more time. Where is Kip? Oh, he's right down there. He's right down there on the path. Missing child. Found him. Being in my 30s, I should have about 50 more years until I get really good at looking. But this is kind of the struggle. There we go. Okay, that's feeling pretty good. And then finally, we've got our little subjects here. So I'm going to go add Eve in. She had a little bit of brown. Kip was in blue, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of just a splash of color. Honestly, you can really just even use indigo because it's just shadow at this point. But we'll just use a little splash of color right there. And blue hat on too. And then Eve is right there. Just a touch, that's all it really takes. A little bit of that. Tiny bit of some contrast. And I used to be so afraid of drawing people. I still am afraid of drawing people. They're terrifying, you can get them wrong. And compared to a landscape, it is like, why would you subject yourself to like something people scrutinize so hard? Because nobody judges a figure like in painting the way they do a landscape or a mountain or a goat. But if you can add a little person, it just adds such a great little bit of perspective to your whole picture. It just brings everything into scale. I love to do it that way. Okay, there we go. A little bit there, a little bit here, and she had a hat. So put it right like that. Okay, and then the blueberry arms right there and right there. Oh my gosh. Okay, if you zoomed in, this will look very abstract, but it should be just enough to give kind of the sense of how that all works out. And then maybe just a little bit of a blueberry plant or something in the foreground. Here's a little bit of, oh, we got kind of some purple here. I'm just gonna put a little bit of just some leaves, just like that. And then I'll connect them with a twig here in a second. Doesn't take much. It's like painting a brick wall. You only gotta add 1 or 2 bricks. Which is basically what I tell myself every single time I'm painting. Like, just add a little bit of detail, it's okay. All stuff I need to hear. Here we go. Okay. Then a little bit of indigo, add a little bit of that stick, and we are basically there. Here we go, a little touch of indigo. Just a little twig here. A couple little twigs up there. Maybe a little bit of a little bush. And then the last half of that figure and some legs and boom, voila. Kind of fun. Right here, quick little sketch. I don't know. Rain hasn't come in. Feeling pretty excited about that actually. What do you think? Kind of fun. Do you see yourself? You have the little blob there in blue. You're this blob, and
Kip is that blob?
Yep, Kip is that blob.
Oh, very nice. You look like a very good blob.
He's a great blob.
Yes. A++ blob.